What is good? We're back. We have Joseph from Quality Stats here, about to make y'all super mad. We're going to talk about some must fade players according to Joseph's model and projections here. Joseph has Quality Stats at the Twitters. Got all sorts of good stuff you can go follow over there. You can find his Substack. You can find his Patreon. You can also come over to the FFD side of things, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about and viewing is over on that side of things as well. Chev, how you doing?
You know me, brother. Any day on this side of darts are good.
That's right. And Joseph,
I can't wait to make everyone so mad. I just people hate when I have fades, but I am more right than I am wrong.
Ooh. Same. We got like 100% rookie hit rate. So for 10 years in a row.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been wrong, to be honest.
This is top tier. Listen, you guys don't put the hazmat suits on and go wade around in the comments. I do. It's going to get really aggressive real quick now.
It's not that serious, guys. And the fades are always, you guys get upset, but it's mostly going to be relative to, draft position on a lot of these things. And I'm sure there's some rationale behind why and how. And we'll ask you why the model doesn't. And I'm sure I got some pushback. I know the list already, so I got some pushback on a few guys. But I'm interested to see. So we started with the receivers last time. Let's start with the running backs on the fades. And we've done we can go receivers. No,
it's okay. I was pulling it up. Yeah, it's good.
We have the must drafts on the other side of this. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you go check that out. And now we're going to hit the fade. So Joseph, take it away on your first running back fade.
Yes. So the first one, again, it's going to immediately upset some people, but the model is not in love with Chase Brown. Right. So the model is not in love with Chase Brown. And I should go in and talk a little bit about kind of what the model is. We talked about it in the last episode quite a lot, but the basic idea is I created a model that predicts the distribution of player outcomes, right? So we're talking about a floor, a median, and a ceiling. I kind of got tired of hearing people talk about this tangible upside, this intangible upside of various players. They just say, hey, Caleb Williams has a high upside. Well, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean that he has a high upside? Like, why does he have a high upside, right? And I get it, Ben Johnson's there, but what does that mean? Like, what does that tangibly mean? And that kind of drove me crazy. And so I decided to make a model that predicted every percentile of a player's potential outcomes in 2025 to try to get a better understanding of, well, what does that upside look like, right? Just because we say something doesn't mean it's true. There's some people that I've seen talk about how, having a bad defense makes you have a good wide receiver, and that is simply not true. If you do the math on it, it isn't true at all. I promise.
Yeah.
So I did the math on it, and I tried to come up with the best answers for who has the best tangible upside in the NFL.
Okay. So before you get into the Chase Brown thing real quick, I'm going to point out in your realm of outcomes here, you've got a high, a low, and an average, right? So that's kind of how you're looking at this from a points projection, essentially. So Chase Brown coming in at RB11 for RF50 ADP, and your floor is RB19 and your ceiling is RB7. All right. And their O-line rank is 32nd for Cincinnati. You also have your own rankings available on our site as well as your site. That have outcomes for run block, pass block, and overall. Correct?
Yes. All of that is correct. Yes.
That's kind of where he stands, and is the basis of this because he's at 11 and the floor and the ceiling are just not good enough for what you're paying. Is that what you're so I can explain it as best I can? Because I don't like this. I hate you right now. But go ahead.
Yes. No, I mean, you're exactly right. Right. So the basis for my reasoning on most of these picks are, where am I having to take the player? Right. If I want this player, where do I have to take them? And what is their what's their ceiling is ultimately what I care about. I care about their floor a little bit too, but I more care about their ceiling. Most of the drafts that I do a few home leagues, right? I have a few redraft drafts I do with my friends and families and stuff, but I'm not trying to win $100,000 when I'm playing against them. So I care a lot more about ceiling outcomes than I do medians or floors.
So when you're playing with more public, regular people, you care more about the safeness is going to be the easier path to winning in regular, standard, just 12
Fully agree with
people
that.
from your hometown. Right?
Exactly. When I'm playing
the missionary redraft.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I'm playing with my high school friends or something, I don't need to reach for players that have high upside, right? I can get away with just being safe for the most part, right?
Okay.
And Chase Brown is a player in which the model does not like his upside, right? And it's for really two reasons. I think that there are two things that this boils down to, and hopefully they make sense. They're pretty simple. One is their offensive line is really bad. It's just bad. I think I think everyone can agree on that. It's
Sure.
a bad offensive line. And bad offensive line often leads to bad running back production. It just does. So sometimes when you have a bad offensive line, it can lead to good running back targets. Chase Brown has a less than 10% target share from 2024. It's like right at 10%. That's not great, right? There are better options to target on this team. And I guess to add a third reason, he was drafted like 160th overall, I think 163, something like that. That's like in the running back world, draft capital is like very important for like continued team kind of believing, right? The team like believing in you and continuously putting you out there. You have a shorter leash when you have a lower draft capital, things like that. And I mean, Taj Brooks only got picked like 30 picks lower than Chase Brown. I'm just saying, with a low target share, bad offensive line, and bad draft capital, there's not a lot to believe in. I think that we just kind of believe in the Bengals offense and like, oh, the Bengals are going to score a lot, so Chase Brown's going to be great.
Yeah.
But that's not exactly true, right? Especially if he's not getting targets. That's the most important thing here, right? Running back targets are so important to running back fantasy points and PPR, half PPR, and standard. And if he's only getting 9.9% of their targets, I'm just saying he's not going to pay off at his current ADP.
When you do you need a timeout, or I'm about to ask a couple follow-up questions. Are you good?
I mean,
you got some questions? Okay.
Fuck yeah, I got questions.
Okay.
Let's go.
Here's I'm gonna on the three things. I'm gonna push back on those. One, target percentage when he was the full-time starter. Does that factor? Is that factored in? Because I think it was maybe more than that at that point. Once he took over fully. Two, wasn't their offensive line this bad last year? And what was the third one that you had there? Oh, the draft capital. At some point, like, don't we have to just not give a shit about the draft capital? Like, once we've established that this guy's good and the team came back and everybody thought that we were going to spend a second or third round, and it's just you spend a fifth round on him again, and now, you know, a lot of confidence and faith. And didn't he show you the production that at some, to me, once somebody proves that they're good, I take the draft capital out and I don't care anymore. The opportunity, like, yes, the leash could be shorter, but I just, at this point, like, I feel like he might not get paid in Cincinnati, but like, he's their guy right now, right? For at least that's the way I view it, because like the production was so good. And a bigger point would be like, Joe Burrow definitely likes what Chase Brown does for him. So I don't think you can put that genie back in the bottle, right? You can't be like, hey, we're going to trot this other guy out here now, when Burrow's like, nah, I got this. This guy was awesome for me last year when he became a starter. So
team dynamics like that, and I think Chev definitely wants to say something about. I'll try to be quick about this, but team dynamics absolutely matter, and that's something that it's not in the model, right? Like the model doesn't know Joe Burrow likes Chase Brown, right? Like that's not anything.
Sure, of course.
And that's
not
quantifiable. That's something that we have to know and take into account. But I will say, I'll push back a little bit on the draft capital. So draft capital, it sadly does matter long term. So it matters in like how we evaluate age curves, right? It matters in how we evaluate, like, how does this team perceive this player? And sadly, draft capital does matter a lot, right? And how the team is viewing them, even if that player is awesome, right? Even if that player does well, so draft capital does matter.
But I would. And I'm not, this is not the world I live in, but like, doesn't it matter because a lot of the fifth rounders stink and that skews the average, but now he's more of in the outlier category, right? And so how can you weight those things in?
A little bit. Absolutely. And I think that, like,
are you a survivor? Are you not going to give up? Then you need to sign up for this new game called Fantasy Football Survivor. Instead of picking an NFL team to win each week, you set a new fantasy lineup. But you can only use a player once per season. Advance each week by staying out the bottom percentile and performing over expected. Drink. The contest is free to join. Sign up for the main event. Create your own leagues. What are you waiting for? Click the link in the description.
It's just with running backs, right? We have far too often running backs fall off a cliff that were not drafted high, right? Mm-hmm. So running backs that are drafted low that kind of end up in a starting position that kind of piddle around and play for a while. And even if they're productive, right? Even if they're decent, I don't know, James Robinson just screams in my head right now. But even if they play around, and I think James Robinson's different than Chase Brown. Chase Brown's better, right? I think outright Chase Brown's a lot better. But, you know, he kind of fell out of nowhere very quickly, right? And I think that's more of
an Achilles injury, though, didn't he?
He did, but even before
Robinson,
that,
yes.
Yeah, but even before that, I think he was kind of fading out of relevance at that point. But I think that so draft capital matters, I guess.
Yeah, I agree too. I agree.
So draft capital matters for the how the team perceives you, right? Mm-hmm. In general. And for running back, it matters even more, at least from what I've been able to tell, right? It matters more. For other positions, it does matter less, right? Quarterback, we've seen plenty of, Brock Purdy's a great example of a current quarterback who's playing with bad draft capital that the team perceives quite well, right? But for running backs,
and they still don't.
Yeah. With running backs, it's often seen as replaceable, often.
Of course, sure.
Right? And that's just how teams view them. It's not necessarily my opinion or anything like that. It's how teams view it. And that kind of confounded or added to the fact that they have a bad offensive line. Mm-hmm. I do think that it is an important, you brought up a good point as far as like his target share when he was a starter. I think it was like a little bit higher.
Once we get into 11, that's not terrible anymore. That's like kind of average, isn't it? 11-ish. Like the good ones are at like 14.
Ish. I think I'd put an ish at the end of all that and say like ish, right? And in general, to me, all of those things just don't scream RB14. Again, it's not that I hate the guy. It's that I just see a lot of things that are barriers to a top 5 RB finish, right? Yeah. I see a lot of things that are just gatekeeping him from ascending to a top position. Could he finish at RB14? Yeah, sure, I guess. Yeah, like I don't think that's a crazy outcome for him. It's just not what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for a top 5 RB finish, and that's who I'm trying to get when I'm getting players.
Yeah. Chev, what did you want to throw in the mix here?
Yeah, I'm sorry. We did not acknowledge this timeout super well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just like, hey, go fuck yourself. We're going to talk about what we want to talk about. So, yeah, for Chase Brown was a flag plant, bring home the bacon player for me on our live stream this past Saturday. I called him 2024's Kyron Williams because of the parallels going into the season. And then as soon as Zach Moss, faded into the upside down, he from weeks 9 to 18, this is the type of usage that he saw. So there's only 4 running backs that qualify with at least 35 targets. It's Chase Brown, it's Devon Achane, it's Bijan Robinson, and Jahmyr Gibbs. Out of all those guys, he averaged the most targets out of all that entire cohort and was second in target percentage with over 12%. So like and then he handled 80% of their carries inside the 5-yard line last year. So
we didn't talk about that on this episode about that. So you can, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, but I just don't see a world where he's not super safe with potential to give me a top 5 finish. So I understand where we think. I don't have any. I've been buying Chase Brown in Dynasty since his rookie, since I could get him in the 3rd round of rookie draft. So I have a ton of Chase Brown. I have a ton of Chase Brown in redraft. I'm a big fan of Chase Brown. I understand that the offensive line is awful, but another thing that we talked about in the previous episode where we're talking about the offensive coordinators, just plan of attack. So Dan Pitcher, first it was Brian Callahan, who's now the Titans head coach. Now it's Dan Pitcher. They've utilized a singular running back for their workload, just like Sean McVay has. Again, these are guys that were off of the Sean McVay tree. Zach Taylor has used one running back that's handled at least 200 carries in almost every season, save for the one Joe Mixon season where he broke his foot in 2020 or whatever it was, and he just never came back. There's been one guy that handled the workload. So my only question to Chase Brown finishing as a top 5 running back is if he generates explosive plays. If we get the explosive plays, then yes, because he wasn't that great in terms of that last year. But he was 5th at the position in receptions. So I have no questions about whether or not he's going to catch the ball. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to handle the workload. I'm not threatened by Taj Brooks. I have a ton of Taj Brooks too because I liked his film. I liked him coming out of Texas Tech. So I'm in the complete opposite corner here on Chase Brown.
Yeah, I think that I definitely agree on, say, explosive plays. It's super important, right? Explosive plays are like one of the most important things for running backs to like generate fantasy points. It's very important, right? But one of the things the model definitely doesn't like, I was just double checking this a second ago, but last year he finished the 33rd best PFF rushing grade, which was like 20th percentile, right, in the NFL, which means he's in the bottom 20% in PFF rushing grade. And in general, it's supposed to be agnostic of offensive line, but it's kind of not.
How could it be?
Yeah, it's right? Don't get me wrong, I'm saying it's kind of not. And he did finish with a pretty decent receiving grade, right? So I do see like there's a case to be made for his receiving. I just think that there's I'm very worried about his rushing floor, and targets are more important. I've said that plenty of times, right? Targets are more important. And if he ends up getting, if he has a consistent 14% target share, right, my worries go away very quickly. I just think with that offense, we'll see. I guess we'll end up seeing. But at his current price, to me, I just think he's a little too expensive. If he was like a little bit down, RB 20, I don't know, somewhere around there, I'd feel a lot better. It's just RB 14 is just a little high for me.
Yeah. We've been a big pro Chase Brown podcast from rookie year to the next year to all off season, betting multiple people that the Bengals are not, they stink too bad on defense to invest in another running back right now. I don't know if we'll get paid by the Bengals, but very pro Chase Brown, which is why the first one was, I kind of wanted to go there first because I knew it would probably take the most time. There's one more on, actually, there's a couple more on here, but we're going to speed it up. We're going to speed it up. We're going to speed it up a little bit. Hit us with your next running back fade here. And I understand this one because I think I know why on this one.
Cam Skattebo is the second fade on the list. And for what it's worth, I really like Cam Skattebo, actually, like personally, as Joseph, I really like it. And he was like one of my favorite players to play with in college football 25. I just like him. He was fun. He's a fun player. I like watching him at Arizona State. But, I mean, you're throwing him in the mess that is the Giants offense. And I mean, if he's lucky, he'll carve out like an early down and goal line role in a terrible offense. And again, we talked about Alvin Kamara. Like if the offense is a little bit better than expected, maybe something can happen. But it's not like Cam Skattebo is going to be their every down back, right? Tyrone Tracy is going to come in, and he's probably just going to be the starter outright. But if Cam Skattebo is lucky and carves out an early down role, he's still not going to be getting targets any kind of real rate. And the Giants probably aren't going to be scoring at any kind of real rate. And even if they do, is it going to be Cam Skattebo? Like, there's just so many question marks. And I know he's kind of cheap, but he's just not worth it where he's at. Like, I would just rather take.
He's not that far away from Tony Pollard, who we just talked about.
Exactly. Like, I would 10 times rather have Tony Pollard. I don't even understand how that's a question, right?
Yeah.
I would 10 times rather have, I don't know, Trey Benson, for example. Like, I would just rather have other players than Cam Skattebo. There's just no reason for me to take Cam Skattebo. His ceiling is limited and his floor is limited. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah. No, we all feel exactly the same way you do on this one. Like, we all like Cam Skattebo. We've dubbed him as the Anglo-Saxon assassin on this podcast. But I think Tyrone Tracy came in and did a really good job last year. I feel like for some reason, some running backs just get overtaken by the public really quickly. I don't think Tracy's giving it up that. And then furthermore, I feel like their skill sets are a little redundant as far as like both of them being very good receivers. I think Tracy's, like you said, is going to have the early, lock on that part of what they do. So I feel like it's going to be hard year one for Skattebo, like you said. So I can understand this one too.
He's just limited. Yeah, he's limited in every way. Just as far as, I mean, I don't get what people are seeing, I guess. And I love the guy. That's the thing is I loved watching him in college. It's just he's not an NFL caliber player in my opinion. At least right now.
Ooh.
I should say. Sorry.
Ooh.
In the year 2025. In the year 2025, I don't
Comments
think he's
explode.
ready. I don't think he's ready.
Hey, we got a dude named Henry Muto who's gonna ask for your address.
In the year 2025, I just don't think he's ready to ascend into any kind of real role. I hope that he does. I really do hope that he becomes a thing. I just think it would be fun. I'd really enjoy that. I hope he becomes a
sit
thing.
and learn. Like
I'm with you. We don't have to do this. I do love the talent. I don't love the situation. And there's just, you hit it, very, very, very astutely when you said that there's a low floor and no ceiling, in my opinion. I can't get there. I don't think that there's some vast difference in talent between he and Tyrone Tracy, who Fred Warner dubbed the hardest player to tackle in the NFL. So
top 5.
Yeah. Top 5. Pardon me. Yeah.
Take it easy.
But that's Fred Warner talking about somebody being difficult to tackle, and he tackles people for a living. So we can move on if y'all ready to move on.
Yeah. And then the last one I think is I love the guy, but I'm with you on this one. I get it on this one. And I also think I know why the model doesn't like him. So who's the last fade?
So I think this one's going to upset people. And the thing is I love this player, and honestly, I wish that the model liked him too.
Is this player before you start an NFL caliber player?
Absolutely. I love Kenneth Walker. I really do. I think he's one of the most fun running backs in the NFL. I want to see more Kenneth Walker. Cowbell, Fever. I want to see more of him. But so the model does not like his upside. It's really as simple as that. So
now that's interesting.
So and it's mainly because Zach Charbonnet exists.
Oh, I always thought it was injury.
That too. I mean, that's part of it. Like that it's both injury and Zach Charbonnet exists, and both of those two things just limit his overall upside compared to other players in his price range, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the main reason. I mean, it's pretty simple, like as far as that's concerned. It's just he has a limited upside relative to other players in his area. I would rather have, say, Alvin Kamara. I don't know where their ADPs are at right this moment, but I would, for instance, rather have them.
They're pretty close. Walker's a little behind him, I think. Walker's at I would 404.
10 times rather have Alvin Kamara than Kenneth
Alvin
Walker.
Kamara right next to him. 404, 405 in our ADP.
Yeah, and then like those are two players I think most people are going to consider in a similar range, and there's just a safer floor with Alvin Kamara and a higher ceiling, right? And so again, it's about relative to his price where I would take them. If Kenneth Walker went around later, we're talking. We're starting to talk like, okay, I'm more interested at this point, right?
I think I could put a relatively similar ceiling on the two if they both reached it.
Well,
because I think the pass catching and you've got the okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other. So that's at least part of it. There's one more thing I should have brought this up earlier, but the Seahawks offensive line. I know it's looked good in the preseason. Everyone keeps telling me about it. I'm sorry. My predicted offensive line ranking for them, based off of their players coming into this year and who is projected to be their starters, is very low, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the worst in the NFL
because of some injuries that they've had, or does that O-line model weight that as much as maybe this one does?
So the model, at least the one that I most recently ran, right?
For the O-line?
Yeah, for the O-line, right? The model that I most recently ran is about it weights 80% on the starters, 20% on the backups. And that's actually something I did choose for what it's worth. That was something I had to choose because I was like, I wanted to include depth a little bit in the model, so I had to weight the backups as something. But 80% starters, 20% backups, and it looks at past NFL players and future starting rookies, right? And depending on the draft capital of the rookie, it assigns what were similar drafted rookies and how did they do, right? Mm-hmm. when they were drafted. And then for veterans, it looks at their age, their draft capital, and their previous PFF grades and projects what they should be going forward. So if it's a young player that was drafted high, they're going to be ascending. And if it's an old player that was drafted low, they might be descending a little bit. Although we've talked about this in the previous episode, but the age is a little less important for O-line, but it does matter for the ascension and descension for sure, right? Especially for highly drafted players ascending. It matters.
We saw Alvin Kamara in this system last year and really be, catch a lot of balls and be pretty good in it. One thing I would say, and we've talked about this on the Patreon and a couple times since we talked about, number one, Charbonnet should be kind of a must draft in general. That's also kind of why I don't mind if Kamara isn't there, don't mind taking Walker, because I feel like I can insulate the two, and Sharps doesn't cost as much a little later, right? And so I could kind of have the best of both worlds there. But as far as the offensive line grade goes, I feel like this offensive line grade needs to kind of get bumped up, because I feel like it's going to have a Shanahan type effect on their offensive line as far as the run blocking goes, because that scheme is run first, and they're very good at scheming the run game regardless of offensive line.
Agreed. And I think that's something that the model does not know about the Shanahan scheme, for instance, right? Like, it's not like I wasn't like
they're the same,
exactly,
similar, right?
Exactly. I wasn't like, this is the scheme of the offensive line and this is how it's going to run. It's just how good were their PFF grades and how well will they be in the future, right?
Yeah.
So I do think that's a very fair point for Kenneth Walker. And if you believe, if people believe that, if you believe that, that's a reason to bump it up for sure. The model cares a lot about those PFF grades and it being the worst in the NFL. That's why Chase Brown is ranked so low as well, right? It's those things matter for running back production.
Sure.
Targets matter more. I'll always concede that. And that's why I think Chase Brown, his might be a little bit better if he ends up getting 14% target share, right? But with Kenneth Walker, it's just the ceiling isn't quite where other players in his drafted area are.
So was somebody like Bucky Irving a flashing light on your radar last year at all because of that offensive line being good and maybe Bucky being in, or was it just was draft?
Funny enough, I didn't run this last year. I didn't do any kind of redraft model last year. So I just didn't do it last year. I didn't play much best ball or redraft. I was really focused on week to week predictions last year, and that paid off for me. So
nice. All right, let's go over to the receivers. I think this made some people mad.
This will make a lot of people mad.
This is going to, comment section ignite. Give me your first fade.
If you're looking for more FFD, sign up for a Patreon or YouTube membership and get access to the ADP, Dynasty rankings, the rookie draft kit, and extra shows every week.
Well, I've said this before while I've been talking to you as well, but this guy's just not special. His name's Travis Hunter.
I thought we were going somewhere else, but sure.
Okay. So I very much think he's a special player. That's a little bit different. I very much think he's a special player. I think he's the most fun player in the NFL. I think one of my favorite bets right now, if I don't live in a gambling state anymore, but if I was like in a gambling state, I'd put $10 on Travis Hunter winning the MVP. I would, because he's just so unique, right? He's so unique and so special on both wide receiver and cornerback. And if he's decent at both of those, I think he's going to be in the MVP race. But there's something my model cares about a lot. And two out of the three that we're going to talk about have this in common, right? So relative dominance is super important. How good you are relative to the other receivers on your team is so impactful on your fantasy points. It's so impactful on how you actually finish the season. Right? If you're not the best, if you're not a wide receiver one on your team, you're probably not going to finish as a wide receiver one in real life as a fantasy player, right? And Travis Hunter, his ceiling is being capped, absolutely being capped by the fact Brian Thomas Jr. exists, right? And a lot of people aren't going to love hearing this, but I'm not sure, and the model agrees, Trevor Lawrence is good.
Ooh.
Right? So is Trevor Lawrence good? That's just a question mark. I'm not sure, right? If he's good. I know Liam Cohen. He's good, right?
Maybe. Maybe.
It may be good. Yeah, exactly. There's the maybe. So, okay.
If Liam Cohen's good, I think you can upgrade Trevor Lawrence from being, I think he's fine. I think you could upgrade him to good.
Yeah, agreed. And so to me, Baker Mayfield's better than Trevor Lawrence, right? And now especially. So, I just think that we're kind of assuming Trevor Lawrence is good and Travis Hunter is going to need to carve out a role in that offense, which he very well could. I'm not saying he can't, But that we also are relying on Trevor Lawrence being good and Liam Cohen still being good, right? So there's just a lot of, we need this to be good. We need this to be good. And then maybe Travis Hunter can be good, but he's still being capped by being the second best receiver on his own team, right? So he's the second best receiver on his own team. I guess to sum it up, second best receiver on his own team. Trevor Lawrence might not be good. And Liam Cohen, I mean, we'll see. I think he's decent, right? But we'll see if he can make Trevor Lawrence good, but we don't know. And I just think those things are really capping Travis Hunter's upside where, I mean, I get he was drafted high, right? But my rookie model didn't love him either. I mean, he's a fine wide receiver. I just don't necessarily think he's a special wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, I think if he wanted to be a full-time wide receiver, he could get into the hall of very good receivers, maybe borderline special. We've had a lot of conversations redraft wise. If you want to take a shot on him and it being fun, I don't mind it. Dynasty wise, I'm out until further notice of that. Hey, you can be this Iron Man for a while, but that's neither here nor there. So Trevor Lawrence being a big factor in this, your model has Trevor's ceiling being at QB7.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, if he's good, yeah, that's great. It's just, is he good? That's just right. Is he good?
I don't think you're going to get a whole lot of pushback from us. I think Travis Hunter, I agree with everything you basically said. I think he's a lot of fun. I'm not anti Travis Hunter by any means. And in redraft best ball, I'll take a shot, but no, I haven't. I will tell you that.
And that's the thing is his price is just too high, right? Like,
right.
There's just no reason to take him where he's at, in my opinion. Like, there's just so many other receivers I'd rather have in that area. If he was like, 2 rounds cheaper, sure, yeah, all day long. Yeah, I'd like to see what happens at that, but he'll never be 2 rounds cheaper. So.
Yeah, like I would much rather, like, he's not even in Ricky Pearsall territory, and I'd rather have Ricky Pearsall than Travis Hunter.
I agree with that fully. I would much rather have Ricky Pearsall than I would Travis Hunter at this point. Just like where their prices are.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah, in relative price. Ideals, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. Chev, did you have you want to add anything to Travis Hunter here before we go to the next guy that's going to make somebody angry?
No, man. I this is pretty much what we've been saying the entire time. Like, acting like Brian Thomas Jr. doesn't exist, acting like there's not tremendous question marks
on everything in the Jaguars,
with everything that has to do with the Jaguars organization. Duval. Yeah, I can't. There's no reason to do what you're doing with Travis Hunter, where people are saying that he's the greatest wide receiver prospect since Calvin Johnson. And it's
mad
nuts.
Obviously hyperbole from Chev a little bit there, but yeah, people are.
That's literally been a comment in our comment section before.
Insanity. Now, if he wants to just be in that receiver room and just be a receiver, I think the ceiling can be really high. But until we see that delineation happen, I'm
agreed. And I still think, there's still the fact that I don't want to say forever, but if Brian Thomas Jr. is there, I don't see a world where Travis Hunter is ever the best receiver on that team.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
He just had a top 10. Anyway, let's go on. Let's go.
Give me the next receiver here and the must fade quality stats.
Yeah, so this one maybe is who you thought I was just going to say, and this one I think angers the most people by far, and they're preparing for it. The model hates CeeDee Lamb. The model hates him, and it is almost the inverse of why the model likes AJ Brown. So that's important here, right? So, I should say somewhat. Some part of that is so. The Cowboys passed it a lot last year, and they very well could pass it a lot this year. And they probably will pass it a lot this year. But will they pass it as much as they did last year? Question mark, right? So the model likes regression to the mean because that's what happens. Like, it's not like that's not something I'm making up, right? Regression to the mean happens all the time. And I think that the public and humans in general, we just don't like it. Like, we don't like regression to the mean, and we don't like it happening, but it does happen. And so that's a huge factor in this. So regression to the mean. And there's a second point people aren't going to love to hear. CeeDee Lamb's PFF grade last year was very bad, right? It was not good. I think I had it pulled up over here somewhere, but it was not good, right? Let me see. I was looking at my running back post just a second ago. So his PFF grade last year was wide receiver 22 at 79.9 overall, right? PFF grade, again, is very stable.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to, PFF grade is very stable year to year. His receiving grade was a 79.9. That's like wide receiver 2 territory, like low wide receiver 2 territory, right, for PFF grade. They just added a new player to their team with the name of George Pickens. Any idea where George Pickens finished last year?
I know where he went to college.
Yeah, go Dogs. So George Pickens finished last year as wide receiver 23 in PFF grade, right below, with 79.8, right below CeeDee Lamb. So as we've talked about, relative dominance is really important in prediction. So the model sees the Cowboys as a team that is likely going to pass less than they did last year. And CeeDee Lamb's barely the wide receiver 1 in his own team as far as PFF grade goes. I get it. As far as PFF grade goes, right? So I love CeeDee Lamb like as a player. Like I think he could be. He's really good. He's like the wide receiver 2 overall, right? Like I get it. I get why he's there. But if we just look at the raw numbers of like route running, PFF grade, what did he do last year? It wasn't great. He was right beside George Pickens, and they just added George Pickens. I'm just saying his relative dominance just went down, right? His team relative dominance, no matter what, just went down. But the model sees it as a massive drop, right? He went from being the clear-cut wide receiver 1 on his own team to like maybe the wide receiver 1 on his own team as far as PFF grade goes. I still think he's going to get peppered with targets, et cetera, but there is more target competition now, and it's good target competition. It's not like some mediocre player. It's a good, young, ascending player that they added.
Yeah. 2 things. This is why robots need a kill switch. Number 2, why, just for the audience, because I'm sure there's some people screaming about how much you're citing PFF grades, and I'm sure some people think that that's stupid. So why can you just give me a quick why the PFF grade matters so much to
PFF receiving grade is one of the most stable year-to-year statistics that exists for receivers. It's more stable than yards per route run. It's more stable than first downs per route run. It's more stable than it's more stable than like basically any other wide receiver stat outside of like weighted opportunity rating and target share, right? Like, and it's not an opportunity stat. So it's a skill stat that is stable. So that's why this matters, right? I know that a lot of people hate PFF grades, but they're predictive and they're stable, right? I've done a lot of research on these and they are genuinely good to use. Don't get me wrong. There's still nuance. There's still things that, someone who's really good at watching film can see and understand and really dig into and gain new insights for. But as far as just getting a grasp on kind of a player's entire season or getting a grasp on what, how good they were from like, say, a route running perspective or, whatever kind of, PFF grade passing perspective, whatever grade you're looking at, PFF's about as good as it gets, right? And I just want to reiterate, the reason we know it's good is because it's predictive year to year, right? It works year to year, and that's why it matters.
Chev, you had that like short bus shake sway going on there whilst talking, so I'm going to give you, what do you want to say? Say what you need to say.
Let me know. I understand why the model doesn't think or doesn't believe CeeDee Lamb is a value. I wholeheartedly understand that. It's just that when you use your eyes, you're using those eyes to watch American tackle football.
Joseph doesn't like that.
It's just
I do. I love watching football. I get it.
It's just that when you look at CeeDee Lamb, again, analytically, everything that you said can't be refuted. I mean, that's why it's there. It's just that it's going to be really difficult. It's going to be a really emotional decision for people to trust the data and not click the button on CeeDee Lamb because his ceiling may no longer be 180 targets. It might not be 1,700 yards because they've added George Pickens. But we do see CeeDee Lamb as somewhat of the outlier, in terms of some of the talent, like some of the most talented receivers in the NFL. I know that AJ Brown, I'm a big fan of AJ Brown, but I think there's a way to get there, but I can't refute anything that you're saying in terms of what they've added, what that represents from an actual X's and O's perspective. The pushback that I would have is that they occupy two totally different parts of the field.
That's true.
And he's going to see more targets than George. It's just, in terms of fantasy points per route run or fantasy points per target, he's probably going to be on the lower end as opposed to George Pickens, whose fantasy points per target are going to be higher because they're 15 to 20 yards down the field outside the numbers where he's outstanding. So I
would throw in.
I was listening and I wanted to respond emotionally because I like CeeDee Lamb a lot. I like George Pickens a lot this year. I have a ton of George Pickens. I'm just so happy that I get to see him in an offense with functional forward passing ability. So I wanted to respond emotionally, but I think that this is such a shocking name to be brought up because it seems so safe that I'm probably gonna have to double bag my hazmat suit once we get into the comment section.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would just say to people who think of it, remember, it's always price relative, right? Like you're taking CeeDee Lamb. I mean, we're talking what's his current ADP? Like 103 or something?
He's anywhere from 1 to 6 every time.
Yeah, you're talking like think about the players that you're taking him over. Like I would much rather have Justin Jefferson. I mean, you're talking a player that has the best relative dominance in the league. We're talking a player that finished as like the second best receiver in the NFL last year and has no target competition, right? That will be getting force-fed the ball. Maybe in a slightly worse offense, but he will be getting targets, right? And he's an excellent player. He finished with I don't know what his exact PFF grade is. I don't know who pulled it up, but it was like the second best in the NFL relative to everyone, right? On CeeDee Lamb's own team, he barely has the best PFF grade from last year.
Right.
And then we're talking Jahmyr Gibbs is in the same area. Like I would rather have Christian McCaffrey than CeeDee Lamb.
That's fair.
There's you could list like the first 7 or 8 players, and it's just a no question. I'd rather have
Malik
them
Neighbors
than CeeDee Lamb. What is it?
Malik Neighbors? I
think that's where it starts getting a little questionable, right? Like I'm like, okay, that's a bit more. I think that Malik Neighbors has, it falls into the Justin Jefferson.
Or maybe Puka's a better comparison because now Devontae Adams is there. Obviously Cooper Kupp had been there, but and we don't know about Stafford. Like I think Puka is on par with scoring CeeDee Lamb like fantasy points, right? Or we've seen that. So if
to me that you're talking I'm happy once we get to that range, it's no longer a fade for me for CeeDee Lamb, right? Like I'm like, okay, that's about I start feeling a lot more comfortable. I think the model's a little harsh on CeeDee Lamb once you get to ranges like that, but me personally, I start feeling a lot more comfortable. But I'm never going to get CeeDee Lamb there. He's always going to get drafted in the top 6, and it's never going to happen. And I'm okay with that. I think that his floor has fallen a lot further than most people realize, and his ceiling has also fallen more than most people realize because of what we've discussed.
And to pay off, it's not necessarily out of the range of outcomes to keep around the same passing, and most of the targets are going to get funneled to those two guys and Jake Ferguson, essentially, right? Jake Ferguson's probably the best value of all the Cowboys, but
agreed. But the thing with that is that before George Pickens got there, it was, well, those targets are getting funneled to CeeDee and Jake Ferguson. Well, now it's a player that at least last year was similarly as good as CeeDee Lamb, right? They were about as good, at least from PFF grade standpoint, which is a very stable statistic.
Put your weighted blanket back on.
I'm just saying, take a nap or something. But they, at least from last year, they were similarly as good as each other from a PFF grade standpoint, which is a very stable statistic that matters year over year. If we see that again, if they again finish with similar PFF grades, I promise you, CeeDee Lamb will not pay off at his current ADP.
And which is, from 6 up 6, 7 down, you're kind of.
I start feeling better about it. I still like it. I would still rather have most running backs in the first round over CD, and then we start getting into like I think I might rather have Nico Collins than CeeDee Lamb. I'm pretty high on Nico. I know. I think it's close. I don't know. I might rather have CD. It's close though. I don't have a strong take on it. Once you get to those players, just kind of give me whoever.
Drake London.
I mean, he does have a pretty bad defense. So, maybe, but it just like to me, I play the numbers, right? Like it would just be whoever has the highest upside at that point, which, I don't know what my model, so I don't have it pulled up in front of me right now, but I would say probably that player.
All right, let's move on to the last player here.
Yes, let's get to this last player.
Yes. So last player on the list, DK Metcalf, right? DK Metcalf is the last fade on the list. Boom. His is pretty simple. He has a 40-year-old quarterback that is might be on death's door. I'm not sure. So that was not great last year, right? This is a player that wasn't.
Au contraire, mademoiselle.
Well, sorry. This is a player that is like I'm talking. Sorry, as far as not great, I'm more talking about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wasn't exactly great last year. He's older, right? Mm-hmm. It's just his current ADP is in a range like Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking.
It's great range. Oh.
Aaron Rodgers' current ADP. If you look at where, say, I don't know, it's in like, what is it, like 30?
I don't know. Redraft wise, it doesn't really matter for a single quarterback.
It doesn't. But players that have that ADP at the end of the year usually finish with less than 100 fantasy points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Right.
I think. Well, I mean, I'll bet you whatever you want to bet that he's got more than 100. That Aaron Rodgers has more than 100 fantasy points.
We'll see. The thing is when players are drafted in that range, they're more prone to injury. They're more prone to getting benched, right? They're more prone to a lot of things, right? Yeah. And there's a good chance he's not even going to finish the season. I mean, I'm just saying there's a decent chance that he's not going to finish the season. Right. So that's at least my personal reason of being why. And I also, that is part of the reason the model doesn't like it, right? The model knows who his quarterback is, and that's not exactly great. And I didn't write a lot about DK Metcalf outside of that. That's my main reason for not being interested in DK Metcalf. Is Aaron Rodgers is an issue, especially from a modeling perspective. He's a very big issue. DK Metcalf is one of my absolute must drafts. I feel like where you can get him, there's nobody else really around in that age around. I mean, Calvin Ridley. Well, I don't. They're a little bit apart in redraft there. Aaron Rodgers played great at the end of the season last year. At the very end of the season,
a full year, he started being more and more removed from an Achilles injury. Like this is a Hall of Fame,
just a little bit older every day.
This is a first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, if you don't think he can come through and quarterback his way through a season, and then my whole thing is just like, who else is getting the target share there?
I have bad news. There's a second part of this.
Go ahead.
I didn't get to, and I kind of forgot, but it's a name that might make you shudder. Everyone, you might want to mute. You might want to, not listen to me. But Arthur Smith is also their offensive coordinator.
That's fine.
And that man is a demon.
Well, you're also an Atlanta guy. I would say.
That man is a demon.
Hey, wait a minute. Did you take all of the notes of things I've been saying the entire offseason for why I hate DK Metcalf?
I did not.
Man, I'll bet you whatever you guys want to bet on this, I'm in.
What do you want to bet?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. What do you guys want to bet on?
We do no powder to face. We do $100. We get what?
I don't. We got to set the parameters. Look, who cares who the offensive coordinator is at this point? It's Aaron Rodgers passing to the only wide receiver that's on the team that really matters at all. Like, we just saw him absolutely destroy target share. It doesn't matter what you think about Aaron Rodgers, what you think of the play was. The model doesn't matter. Like, I'm saying, like, you just saw Garrett Wilson absolutely destroying target share and being just propped up regardless of what he was doing. And then Devontae Adams comes in and it's the same. It doesn't matter what I don't care who the offensive coordinator is. I don't care how old Aaron Rodgers is. There's like the value on DK Metcalf right now, who is the only viable receiver on this team, is going to have an incredible target share. And that's all that I give a shit about right now, where I can draft DK Metcalf.
Okay, so we just saw George Pickens last year in this offense
get thrown the ball from who?
About 90 targets.
From whom?
So again,
and probably had his best season ever. Actually,
Mike Tomlin is going to just open up the floodgates and say, "Hey, we're just going to let you throw it as much as you fucking want."
He doesn't need to throw it as much as he wants to.
Yeah, that's my point. They're not going to throw it a lot. And
where were they? It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter that much.
George Pickens had a 29% target share last year, and it didn't mean shit for fantasy. That's my point. Like, Arthur Smith fucking sucks so much that it's going to ruin. You're going to experience the pain. And I've been trying to prepare you for this.
No, you guys are going to experience the pain. You're so set in this Arthur Smith thing.
Well, so fun fact about Arthur Smith, real quick. Now. I have something you'll love, Chef. Real quick. So I ran a coaching success score that is pretty indicative of like how good coaches are over time, right? So like basically, I use various grades for players, PFF and other grades for players to predict offensive success, right? And then I looked at what the players didn't do. So, like, was an offense successful regardless of their players? That's how I define coaching, right? Mm. And then I can aggregate that over seasons. I can aggregate that over years. Top 5 worst coach of all time, and I'm talking all time, at least since 2010 in my model, Arthur Smith. He consistently let his players down relative to their skill, right? So relative to player skill, Arthur Smith consistently,
except for Ryan Tannehill, didn't let him down.
Except one player, sure.
Derrick Henry, AJ Brown.
How many years ago? How many years ago was that?
That was when he was an offensive coordinator.
I'm just saying, out of every coach since 2010, he finished bottom 5 as far as propping his players up or letting them down. He finished. And I think Kyle
Pitts had his best season with Arthur Smith.
Maybe. I mean, maybe we should be bullish on Jonnu.
I'm pretty sure George Pickens just had the best season he's ever had in his entire career.
But should he have had a better season?
Maybe if Russell Wilson wasn't throwing him the ball, or the other guy who's a running back playing quarterback.
But in the same ADP range, right? So right now, DK Metcalf is wide receiver 26. I would rather have Cortland Sutton. I'd rather have Calvin Ridley. I think
Calvin Ridley's later. Calvin Ridley's like a round later.
Is he?
So I'm all on
Underdog right now. They're right beside
Ridley.
Each other. Yeah, on Underdog. I was looking at Underdog ADP. They're right beside each other.
Our ADP in redraft right now has Calvin Ridley at 504 and DK. I'm looking for DK.
Well, yeah, I'd still rather have Calvin Ridley than DK.
Yeah, I'm fine with taking Calvin Ridley, and they're right next to each other actually in our ADP too. So I'm fine with taking Calvin Ridley too. Like we've been on record of saying tons of Calvin Ridley.
I'd rather have Rashee Rice, and that's including a suspension.
Fucking shot.
I'd rather have Rashee Rice with the suspension. I would rather have Zay Flowers 10 out of 10 times. Under our new information, I'd rather have Emeka Egbuka probably.
Yes.
With all the new information.
No.
I'm just saying with there's just plenty of wide receivers that are below DK Metcalf right now.
Where are we at? DK Metcalf's being drafted at wide receiver 25. I will bet you guys whatever you want, he finishes above wide receiver 25. And that would be the standard of being better than where of kind of what you're saying here.
I'll bet in player versus player with a player in the same round.
No, that's not what we're talking about. Because I like those players. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay. All right.
Like, I'm not saying that I don't like I like Calvin Ridley. Marvin Harrison's below him. You want to take Marvin Harrison?
I would take Marvin Harrison.
I'll take Sutton.
No, I'm good on that. Like, I mean, he's
wide receiver 21. He's wide receiver 21 in our ADP, and Sutton's 22.
He's wide receiver 25 in our ADP.
I'm looking at the pleasure chest ranks right now.
I'm glad that this has devolved. CeeDee Lamb wasn't argued nearly as much as DK Metcalf, and I love it.
Well, because
this has been going on.
Because the idea of
I
I can understand the idea of why the model doesn't like, and I understand the idea of why the model doesn't like DK Metcalf here. If you're going to put that much weight on that, you're mad at the quarterback and that he's old. Like, okay, I get that.
Aaron Rodgers is my favorite.
And for what it's worth, real quick, just I don't know if it's a good thing for you or not, but it's more about the ceiling outcomes here, not necessarily his median outcome, right? His floor is probably decent because of what you're saying on the target share, but like, there's no way, in my opinion, that he finishes as a wide receiver 1 this year, and that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I'm fine if he doesn't finish as a wide receiver 1. That's okay with me. I'm not drafting him to be my wide receiver 1.
Yeah.
I'm drafting him to be my wide receiver 2.
Yeah, and I think a median wide receiver 2 outcome, like, middle to low end wide receiver 2, I see that is perfectly fine. It's just, I do not see there's no like.
To me, he's like one of the safest wide receivers that you can draft. I'm just, but like, I think I'm
that's
not
the
fucking this
opposite
up.
of what I'm saying here.
Sure,
right?
no,
I'm saying
you're right. You're right.
The ceiling is not there.
You're right. This is the crux of this argument is the ceiling argument. I would argue that there could be a pretty good ceiling for him as well, but I just
gets
feel
revived
like,
or something, and like someone else is playing quarterback. Maybe
I feel like he's pretty rock solidly safe with just as much volume as going to go his way that he's going to be a wide receiver too.
Yeah, I mean the model has him, I think, at like wide receiver 28, right, which is like right below wide receiver 2 territory.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Chev. I was looking at, I don't know what I was looking at, but we got him at wide receiver 21 as ADP wise, 408.
Yeah, so you can take him and I'll take Sutton. Deal? Or I'll take J-Mo. I'll take J-Mo. You take DK Metcalf.
That's a fun one.
Where's J-Mo?
25.
J-Mo's a fun one.
Sure. Yeah, we could do that.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if I want J-Mo personally. I'd rather have Marvin Harrison.
I do.
Ooh, you want Marv?
I think
right,
over.
Let's go.
Over
let's take a three-way parlay here. And how are we going to work this with the pie to the face?
The other two get pied in the face if their guy finishes. Whoever's guy finishes first is safe from pie in the face.
I think that's fair.
Fair enough. All right, J-Mo, DK. You said Marv?
Marvin Harrison Jr.
All
right, before we get out of here, what's your stance on Marv here? Because this is another
That's
guy.
Great
another
question.
Guy that Chev hates.
So he is so Marvin Harrison, right, is in I could talk about it for a long time, right? But I have a model that looks at predicted target opportunities. So who are players that are getting open who aren't getting as many targets as they should, right? Marvin Harrison is one of the few players in the NFL that he had a pretty good weighted opportunity rating. He finished with a good amount of targets relative to other players on his team. And he was still behind the curve as far as targets he should have been getting, right? Mm-hmm. And so players in that position, I did a lot of math on this, but players in that position see a massive increase in fantasy points the following year, right?
Why do you think that is?
Well, because oftentimes it's like
they go
as
back
they
and look at
review
it
film,
and say,
exactly. As they review film from the previous year, they think, what could we have done better? Oh, Marvin Harrison was wide open. Maybe we should give him some more targets, right? And so we combine that with the fact he has an elite prospect profile, right, coming out of college. Wide receivers going into their second year often see a big jump in both relative team dominance and route participation. To me, there are just a million reasons to like Marvin Harrison at his current price.
Good Levi's, too. Really good job.
And he's been working out,
Yeah.
So.
Swole.
But yes, Marvin Harrison's a player that I am very in on at his current price. It's not like I want to overdraft him, but at his current price, I feel like his upside is really there.
Yeah. All right. Let's get out of here. A lot of fun. DK Metcalf bet in. Marv Harrison, locked in as getting better in year 2. Crazy insights there. Yeah. where can we find all your stuff, Joseph, outside of at the FFT?
Feel free at Koality Stats. It's spelled Koala with a TY Stats. You can find me on Substack and Twitter with that handle. I write a lot about super nerdy stuff on Substack, and I am very good at winning money on a week-to-week basis.
You heard it here first, guaranteed.
The keys to generational wealth.
I mean, hey, last year I hit 4 2% probability bets. So
yeah. We're gonna talk soon.
We're gonna lock that in, and all the stuff that we're with our rankings, ADP, and Joseph stuff as like cheat sheets for all your redraft stuff. We've got a lot of stuff kind of all condensed into one over on our side of things, as far as giving his floor, ceiling, and average with rankings, ADP. So it kind of displays all of those things that we've kind of been discussing all of this, through like, hey, if you like the floor, if you want the ceiling, if you want the safe, you can sort by all that stuff and look at the ranking and the ADP, and all that's kind of on one clean page heading into your redraft drafts over on the FFD side of things. So a lot of good stuff coming up. We'll have some week-to-week stuff from you as well into the season.
And I've been working on those. They're excellent projections that beat pretty much everyone else. So
hey, that's all we can ask for. Beat everyone else.
Beat everybody.
And not just because they've got a bad defense.
Yep. Not just because of it.
Number one rule.
They could pick some. Never mind. All right, man. Let's get out of here. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing it today.
We're out of here. All right. Peace.